For Jane North, who's going to come and talk about the pleasures of supposition.
The moment that I sent off this presentation to Tim, I realised that I'd made a small error and that actually the text on this should be transposed, because what I should be starting with was what I'm actually going to show you. And what I'm going to show you tonight are images from my collection of found family photography from the 20th century. It's been found because it has been abandoned. It's been discarded. It's been thrown away like it's rubbish. The criteria for my collection has evolved to the fact that what I want is pictures by amateurs. It has to have people. We're really talking pence, not pounds. But most important of all, it's got to pique my imagination. And that is the single most important thing. Because what I get, and what I hope you're going to get tonight, is around those images, there's a world of pleasure around supposition. Who are they? How did they live? What's going on in that photograph? What does that smile mean? I hope you're going to find it quite fascinating. I like to tell stories. I'm an embroiderer, and I don't mean with a needle and thread. My mother used to chastise me for having a vivid imagination. So I like making things up. I like exercising my imagination. I like making inferences. And that's very pleasurable. But on another level, I have to say that I think I'm actually looking in these photographs, as I look in all the 20th century literature that I've read, to try and understand people, because I don't. I am socially awkward. I say and do the wrong things all the time, and even people who like me very gently laugh nervously and describe me as eccentric. So here are some photographs from an eccentric. Let's see one. This is the first one. So they're all discarded. What I find so utterly shocking is that they've all been thrown away as rubbish. So you can find them in car boots, you can find them in junk shops and places like that. And where are they from? Well, they're from all over, wherever I find them. They're Sussex, South Yorkshire, Brussels, wherever I find them, and I find that shot that just really grabs me. And this one really has. I love his shiny trousers. They couldn't be shinier. I love the floral dress that she's got, the skirt. They're very 50s, very 60s. And the duffel bag. I mean, what happened to duffel bags? And he's having a pint, and I think this is South Yorkshire. He's having a pint, and she's probably having a port and lemon. But what I really like about it so much is that smile between them of complicit, quiet happiness. I collect different formats. So in the beginning of the 20th century, only a certain class of person could afford to take photographs, let's be honest, and they were taken on lantern slides, which are glass, which are about the size of a mobile phone. These are from a collection from a junk shop in Crystal Palace. So it was 5 in a box, but this one absolutely grabbed me. I just love it, really, because I like him. I like the body language there, because you've got big tough toys, the big tough boy. And then there's her. And she's just so graceful in repose. This is one of my all-time favourites, and I have to tell you, I am the anti-Instagram. You're going to see photographs tonight that might shock you, because they're going to be degraded, and they're going to be patchy, and they're going to be scratchy, and they're going to be torn, and it doesn't matter. Because what really matters is, what do you really see? And I like to imagine, without being too ossifyingly Downton about it, that these are working girls, that they're in service. There was a time when English working class people had 4 days off a year, and I think this is one of them. And they went to the seaside to enjoy the lost art of paddling. But what really grabs me about this is look at those young women's faces, because they are absolutely unknown. I haven't a clue who these girls are. But aren't they all familiar to you? Don't you recognise those faces? now we come to glorious Technicolor, and we all remember the type Spartacus, Ben-Hur, and then we got glorious Kodak film, colour slides in our own lives. And here's one. I haven't done anything to the colour, but look at that, the pop of the red, the pop of the orange, the pop of the yellow, her green, and I love the glasses as well. This is a couple who go on days out in the Dales. They go in the Morris Minor that you can see behind them. I marvel at the fact that that appears to be a glass coffee pot. There was a time in England when actually the cuisine was really rather dreadful compared to our European counterparts in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And Somerset Maugham did say, if you want to eat well in England, breakfast 3 times a day. And there it is, the glorious English breakfast. When I'm looking for photographs, I see other people looking, and I think it's interesting that I observe other people as they look and they rifle through some rotten, mouldy, stinky suitcase full of photographs, and it is shocking because mostly they're full of children's pictures, and I'm interested to see that the young people that look at them in their 20s are distressed. Because there is something wrong. There feels something wrong in this throwing away of pictures, particularly of kids. I was drawn to this one because I love that pram, I love the Mary Janes, and that wonderful hat, those of you who remember Ermine Trude in the Magic Roundabout. But also it exemplifies something that I found in a lot of my photographs, which is actually the physical representation of a saying, which is an old head on young shoulders. I think it's fascinating, and it's a phenomena, and you see it a lot, because what we see there, we see the head of the young woman that little girl is actually going to be, and she's already got her head, and it is a phenomena. It reminds me very slightly of my mum. My mum had the same thing, old head on young shoulders, but of course it's not of my mum, and I wouldn't show it to you if it was my mum, because the feelings that I would feel about that are very conflicted and very different for someone that I have loved and who has died. So I wouldn't show you pictures of my mum, which is why I want to talk to you about Roland Barthes. I'm an autodidact, and I shy away from critical studies. But I did read a wonderful article in The Guardian, and it's online, by Brian Dillon in 2011 on Roland Barthes' Camera Lucida. Roland Barthes was a French critic, a French critical studies academic. He was inordinately close to his mother, and she died. And he goes on a very poignant journey to try and find her in Camera Lucida. And Dillon's article, it beautifully illuminates that journey, and it is powerful, and it is moving, and it is disquieting. The central premise being that photography is a momentum mori. Right, so I've got a lockdown story. I guess everybody has a lockdown story. I have a lockdown story because I'd never read Camera Lucida, and I thought perhaps I ought to. So as it was lockdown, I managed to get hold of a copy. And to be honest with you, I struggled with it because I'm a secondary modernist, not a postmodernist. But I saw a picture that really shocked me. This is a professional picture. This is by a famous photographer called Nadar. And this picture is of Savagno di Brazza. He is an Italian explorer. He is a colonist who colonized the Congo. There is a place in the Congo called Brazzaville, which is named after his family. And these 2 young men are from the Congo. And I suddenly realized that when I was 19, that I had had lunch with the grandson of this man in Rome, at the most extraordinary restaurant I have ever visited in my entire life. But I'm digressing. I'm slipping into what Olivia Manning, the authoress, might call my anecdotage, so I better move on a bit now. Right, I just love this one. It never ceases to make me smile. I look closely, he's not wearing any trousers. I think he's holding his trousers. I think there's a window open there. What was going on in that room? And behind him, getting very dodgy here, is the race course. So there he is on the balcony holding his trousers. And I think it's wonderful. I think he's got a great look. I love the fact he's got a very insouciant scarf. And I think he is fabulously louche. I'm very interested in body language, the things you can tell about people from the way they stand or they sit, and how different families have different ways of standing and sitting, and even a family gait, the way people walk. And I just saw this and I thought, my goodness me, look at that little boy and how he's aping his father's body language. Love this one. Those of you here of a certain age may remember playing cowboys. I certainly did. I love the fact that there's the parental shadow of the photographer there. I had a cowboy hat, and unbelievably now, I played with my best friend John, and we played with guns, which just goes to show that the past really is another country. I also like it because it reminds me of when I worked in Sussex, I worked with a girl whose brother was the last Milky Bar kid. Okay, most of the pictures are of special occasions. They're people having a good time or pretending to have a good time. So this is something a bit more somber. And as I say, you can see here that it's a bit degraded. These were some negatives I found in a wallet. And this young man is not very well for quite a long time. Members of his family come in and sit down. His grandfather comes in, a white-haired man, and smokes his pipe next to him. Perhaps not something we would do now with somebody who might be ill. His grandma comes in and she's knitting. His dad comes in and reads him a book. I just think after COVID, we all needed something, didn't we, to get us through things. And I think it's, to me, very touching that what got this young man through, I hope, was his collection of model aeroplanes. This is one of my all-time favourites. It's 1960s. It's a colour slide, and I love the blue wash. I think this just takes my breath away. The look is just quite arresting from these young women. The lady with the hat, the younger woman in the bikini, and I think it is devoid of lasciviousness. And there they are, looking at you, looking at them. This one is just pure nostalgia for me. If you remember those days, there were the Oxford bags, there was the Ben Sherman shirts, there was a Farrah Fawcett flick hair, there was a David Cassidy flick hair. One bad apple don't spoil the whole bunch, girl. Anybody remember the Osmonds Saturday morning? Oh, brilliant stuff. So I was very pleased to see that the shortest member of this group on the back is actually Annie. So to mix my musical metaphors, I'm very pleased to see that Annie held her own amongst all the young dudes. This took my breath away. You can see on a lantern slide that it's people, but you can't really see very much. So you have to put it on your scanner. I have an ancient scanner, it cost me 50 quid, I got it from Worthing, and it has terrible difficulty talking to my modern technology, but somehow we make it work. And you put it on the scanner, and the scanner's like a fax, it goes do, 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 and then poof, there you see it. And there I saw this young woman. I found a huge box. In this instance, names were written on them. So I know that this is a family called the Pembertons. I know that Fanny and Bernard got married in 1921. I've inferred that this is Fanny's sister, Fanny's bridesmaid. And I think this is a beautiful shot of the dress and the flowers. And I just wonder what this woman would think if she knew that we were able to look and admire her today. Happy shot. This is my happiest shot. I have to share the happiest ones because everything about this is short. The kids are short, the shorts are short, the socks are short. You know, it's just absolutely wonderful. And written on this thing down here, it says, rest and be thankful, which I thought was wonderful. And you know with her wellies that she went on to do something with horses. This intrigued me. I love the bower of the flowers. I love her dress. I think she's holding a fan. He intrigues me. I was a bit concerned that it was one of those shots that they take when you go to Hilton to a black tie dinner dance and there's Mr. and Mrs. and you take, but it isn't because there's no stamp on the back and she's got her eyes closed. I think you can almost smell the mimosa. And I was drawn to it because I saw in a colour supplement several years ago an exhibition curated by an artist from Southeast Asia who had collected photographs, many of a formal demeanour, school photographs, prom, weddings, where someone has got their eyes closed when the camera clicks. Don't ask me why, it's fascinating, but it is. I was touched by this one. This was taken when photographs were special, when it was a special occasion, when it was a memento, a precious, precious memento. And what we really get from that is that on one level, this young man who's very kindly protecting his sister, who's obviously very shy, really got that. He really got the import of photography. And in this age, this age of the photographic incontinence of social media, I feel we may have lost something important. I like this one because it's really captured this woman, who I think is just being horrible and very malign, and looking at that boy in such a horribly disapproving way. He's only opening his Christmas present, let's face it, he hasn't killed the cat. The gentleman at the back reminds me of Rigsby. She's in pearls in the front room, and you just know that Alan Bennett would be able to do something very special with this. These are black and white slides from the 60s. This young man with the wind cheater is a really, really naughty boy. And I've got lots of family occasions, and on every single photograph with this boy in it, he is rolling his eyes, so he doesn't want to be there. I think photographs are special that capture a look, just capturing a look, and this certainly does that. These could be friends, they could be more than friends. We'll never know, but what we do know is that's one heck of a look. Having gone through 20th century photographs and families, you have to have one of pets. I've got lots and lots of people with their pets, because those of you who have pets know they are unequivocally a member of the family. This has got 1951 scribbled on the back, but nobody's name. I was a little bit cautious about this. I was a little bit worried, thinking, are we straying slightly into chocolate box territory? But then I just look at the light and shade on her face. Cherubic indeed. And I like the fact that the kitten's only just cooperating. I think this again is one of my all-time favourites, and it just astounds me that this was taken by an amateur photographer. They just pointed and they just clicked. But look at that. Look at the textures. And I love it. I love her with her stout boots and her stout stick, and everything about that picture says, yes, you can. And I just adore it. It also reminds me of Vivian Mayer. If you haven't heard of Vivian Mayer, please do check out Vivian Mayer. She grew up in the French Alps like this, and she tinkered about with some commercial photography, but it didn't really work. So she gets on a ship, she goes to New York. She becomes a nanny for the sort of family that holidays in the Hamptons. But she takes photographs all her life. Zoom forward 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 decades, and somebody does that strange thing they do in America where they bid for a lockup. And somebody bidded for a lockup, got the key, opened it up, and there they found this woman's entire work. And some of it is quite extraordinary. She really captures the streets of New York unlike anyone else. So quite amazing. I love this because, again, this is another blue wash 1960s. I love the fact that stuff's drying on the back there. I think that's a cricket bat handle hanging out. I love her abandon. I mean, just, whoa, she's just abandoned the girl. And the boy as well, that lovely, totally relaxed abandon. I love the dog, Sentinel. Dogs are great. And the obligatory Lilo. And the ladies unpacking the sandwiches. It's just great. Because what it does remind me of is some of my childhood holidays in West Wittering with my sister and my cousins. And what I'd like you all to think about right now is, in your family photographs, if you could keep 5, if you want to keep 5 and you don't want them to end up in a car boot, then you need to make arrangements now for somebody to be their custodian. Thank you.